And welcome back to Habs Unfiltered, presented by Manscaped. I'm joined now by our guest, Lyle Richardson, Spectors Hockey. How's it going?
Oh, it's going great. Thanks for having me on again. It's been a while.
Yeah, well, you're now the record holder for the most appearances on Habs Unfiltered.
Oh, wow.
So I
We'll have
believe
to
that
see.
counts as charity.
Let's see if we can run it up more, a little more often here over the course of the year. No, it's great to be back on though.
I'm unfortunately my co-hosts could not be here because they had to work. I say that in air quotes because I've seen them at work and it's not work. But uh, but I'm here to bother you a little bit and pick your brain. So you are one of the world-renowned rumorologists for the NHL. So this is basically your Christmas, is it not?
Well, it's definitely one of the busiest times, that's for sure. The busiest is that period between the draft and free agency. But yeah, this is pretty darn close. Just because we may not see like a lot of big names on the move the trade deadline these days. Just, we haven't in a long time just because of salary cap and all that good stuff. But of course, this year being a unique year, we may not see a lot of really big names on the move. But we should still see a few notable deals. In fact, we've already had a couple today and a couple, during this past week, and even a big one for the Habs 2 weeks ago. So the activity start to pick up, and yeah, I think we'll see some interesting moves over the next couple of days.
I think so as well. And this pandemic seems to really have caused some problems. The whole cap situation staying flat for God knows how long. They're expecting what, 2, 3, maybe even 4 years of a flat cap.
Something like that. We're looking at least another two for sure. Next year, absolutely still going to be 81.5. Probably going to be the same the following year. There's some talk it might go up by maybe $100,000, but that's chicken feed for most of these teams that are riding very close to the cap ceiling. So yeah, it has caused some difficulties, but the one thing that we have noticed in a couple of the notable trades of late is you're starting to see a lot of salary retention now. We saw that case in point when the Habs acquired Eric Stahl 2 weeks ago from the Sabres. The Sabres picked up half of his 3.25 mil cap hit for this year. We saw the same thing a couple of days ago with the Islanders and their big move, getting Kyle Palmieri and Travis Zajac. The Devils picked up half of their respective cap hits. So that's one way we're seeing around it. Another way, very quickly as well, is we may see some third-party brokerage going on here. A move that just happened today, of course, Devin Dubnyk, the Sharks sending him to the Colorado Avalanche, and that gives them about 11 million bucks in trade deadline cap space. And I think that, yeah, the Sharks GM there, Doug Wilson, I think he's setting himself up to be, they call a third party broker. So if you've got a team, and let's say hypothetically, again, the Canadians, since since this is a head
Yeah.
centric show, but let's say for the sake of argument that Mark Bergevin decides he wants to make another trade. He's up against the cap right now, but with Brendan Gallagher on LTIR, he's got about 3 mil and change, something like that, that he could make a move. But if he's looking at bringing in somebody who's a little more higher salary, perhaps he can swing a deal with the Sharks, and maybe you get at that the infamous three-team move that sees a guy a player go from Team A to Team B, and then on to its ultimate destination of Team C. So that could be something to keep an eye on in the next couple of days.
Chicago was also mentioned as a team willing to take on cap, and they did take some on when they made the Brett Connolly trade,
Mm-hmm.
sending Carlson and Walmark over to Florida. Seems the big get there for them was Borgstrom, who had refused to report to Florida.
Yeah, and well, yeah, Borgstrom, that could be a case of a young player who just needs a fresh start somewhere else. They were very, very high on him. He was former first round pick in 2016. He was expected to, the projection was he could eventually be perhaps a second line center. He sort of had that potential. struggled last season, didn't really seem to fit in too well under Joel Quenneville. So he'll get a fresh start in Chicago. Stan Bowman, their GM there, he certainly was very keen on getting him. So yeah, I mean that's those are the type of deals that we're going to see now. General managers, let's give them their credit where it's due. They're learning to be creative here. They're not letting the salary cap limitations affect them. Teams that have the cap space to burn, listen, yeah, we'll take on your bad contract. And in the case of Brett Connolly, it's not really a bad contract. I mean, he's got a couple more years left on it, 3.25 mil. Again, that's another example perhaps of a player who might regain his form playing on a different team. But for the Panthers, it was certainly, something that was going to at least create some difficulty for them this year. And going forward, they really didn't see much of a future for him in their lineup. So, yeah, why not ship him off to Chicago? The Blackhawks will happily eat that contract to get themselves a promising kid like Borgstrom. So, yeah, and for the Panthers, it worked out well for them because they used that cap space to get themselves Brandon Montour today from the Buffalo Sabres. So,
Yeah.
as I said, you see the wheeling and dealings going on, and that actually kind of bodes well, I think, for the trade deadline. There was a lot of concern among a number of pundits, especially those who have like 8 hours to kill on television, like TSN and Sportsnet. They're probably thrilled right now to see this kind of activity going on because that means, yeah, we could see some more creative moves on deadline day.
I really don't envy their position being on TV trying to fill 8 hours of airtime. Like you can only have a paper airplane war for so long before people just start to tune out.
Well, and this is the problem, eh? I mean, the trade deadline, just to kind of, well, since we're talking trade deadline, it's not really going off topic, I guess, but you know, deadline day just became this huge thing on the TV calendar, and especially here in Canada. I mean, I'm so old I can remember when trade deadline was just a couple of hours of mention on TSN, and that was it. And then it became 4 hours. It sort of like became an afternoon thing. It came on at noon Eastern time and ran for the 4 hours. When I first started covering the trade deadline on my website many years ago, before I even started getting any freelance work. I mean, that's basically the way it went. I mean, yeah, it started at noon, went Eastern, and until when an hour past 3 p.m. and then that was it. There were your deals, and that was it, done. But then we started seeing some big moves happen, like sort of in the mornings. Didn't happen very often, but you start to see some notable players getting moved in the morning. I think like Keith Kachuk, I think, was a notable one back in 07, if memory serves. And after that, it just became, right, we're going to start first crack a sparrow fart. Yeah, we're going to be online for 10 hours. And that's a hell of a lot of time to kill when there's nothing going on. I mean, they go back and they review all. You notice they always start off by looking at all the players who are potentially on their trade board. Then they look at them again. Then they review the deals that have happened, and then it's time for the silly stunts and bringing the llamas into the parking lot and all that nonsense until finally 2 hours before the deadline. That's when the moves start happening, and the relief on their faces is palpable when the deals start coming down. Finally, we can put the goofy shit aside and we can start being serious kind of sports journalists again. you know so yeah, I think they're really were nervous that they'd be sitting there for hours and hours on Monday with nothing to report. And I think now, as long as there's still some notable names still there, as long as the Taylor Hall's still there, Mike Hoffman, Nick Foligno, guys like that, Josh Manson, as long as those names are still there in the mill, come Monday, at least there's a possibility of some more significant deals. So that'll help them, at least have something to talk about on Monday morning.
Yeah, I expect those bigger names, the GMs are going to hold on to those assets, trying to maximize the return. Clearly, when you mentioned Lou Lamoriello scoring Palmieri and Zajac, it cost them a first-round pick.
Yeah.
But they had to buy that first-round pick by eating all that cap. So there's these trade-offs. So I can completely see the GMs trying to hold off to maximize those deals. And we're seeing it happen just today, all the Montour, as you mentioned, Nemeth last night went to Colorado to bolster their blue line. So Colorado's putting putting it together. They needed some goaltending. They needed some defense. They also needed some scoring depth. So they're still players in this trade deadline.
Yeah, I would say that Sakic addressed his two main needs
Yeah.
in the last 2 days. Getting Dubnik was the big one. They needed to shore up that goaltending depth, and let's give Sakic his props, man. I mean, this guy is as cool a customer as a GM as he was during a player when the pressure was on. I mean, the last 3 weeks, I mean, he's just been hearing it from Avs fans. When's he getting a backup? We need a better backup. When's he getting back? He needs to move now. And it's like, well, no, there's time. Ride it out. We'll get there. He saw what happened during the playoffs last year when they had to ride a third stringer,
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't want to repeat that again. He wasn't going to sit on his hands. He was going to wait until the right deal could be made, and he made it. And I think Dubnik's a good pickup. I mean, yeah, he hasn't won many games this season with the Sharks, but I mean, the Sharks for the first half of this season, they were terrible. They really were. It's only been in the last 6 weeks they've really turned things around and they're starting to make a run for a playoff spot. But Dubnik, I think, on a better team, a deeper club, because let's be honest, that Avs defense is a hell of a lot better than the one in San Jose.
Yeah.
I think you can put him in there to start spelling off Philip Grubauer, down the stretch here, and you could definitely go with him in the playoffs because he's got that postseason experience. So that was the big move. Nemeth, yeah, it's a good depth move to have, though. I mean, my God, the depth they already have. I mean, it's just wow, amazing. Yeah, they could bring in another scorer, but honestly, I think if there's not a deal to be had, I think Sakic could stand pat and be comfortable with the moves that he's made.
Yeah, I can, like I said, I can see him going for a little bit more depth on up front, but he,
Maybe a
like
little
you
more muscle.
mentioned, yeah,
Maybe if you could get a Ryan Reeves type of guy, I think that would be the type of guy they would need, because we all know it gets really physical in the playoffs. And that's the one thing, if you notice the games that they've had, if you've seen any of the games between the Avs and the Golden Knights this year, the one advantage that the Golden Knights have is that, they have physical guys. They've got a Ryan Reeves,
yeah,
they've got physical players, and those are the kind of guys who, yeah, they can start to really make a difference over the course of the playoffs. So I could see them maybe doing that, maybe getting a guy with some muscle. If he can score, great. But I really think somebody who's gonna lay some big hits, who's not gonna take any crap, be willing to drop the gloves if he need to. Yeah, I could definitely see him going after somebody like that.
yeah. You mentioned Vegas. It's going to be kind of weird to watch a deadline come and go and Vegas not make a move because they've been such a busy team when it comes to wheeling and dealing, be it the off season or even at the deadline. They're so hard against the cap. You can't. I don't see how they can pull something off.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where again, like I said, it would involve, getting a third team involved, either a team that you can make a direct deal to, free up some cap space, or it becomes one of those, three team deals. That's the only way I can see them doing it. Either that, or it's got to be dollar in, dollar out. And who do you move in that instance? Then those deals, especially for the Golden Knights, that one's going to be really hard to do. So yeah, that's a team where it could be really, really tough for them to make it. Here's an interesting one though. I'm just seeing here coming down over Twitter. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet says he's hearing Tampa Bay and Columbus working on a David Savard deal. Now you want to talk about a team that's close to the cap. There's again another prime example of Tampa Bay Lightning. But Julian Brisebois, he's been down this road before, and he's another one. He's kind of who has that experience in being able to magically make the cap dollars work. So it's going to be interesting if he pulls this off. It's going to be interesting to see how that deal is going to work. But whether it's dollar for dollar or it's one of those ones again where you're trading cap space, whatever, it'll be interesting to see. But that's just the latest that's come down over Twitter here in the last 3 minutes. So
Yeah, it's going to be it's shifting sands. And now to kind of bring it over to the North Division, because this is a Habs show, we're going to talk a little bit more about this division as opposed to the others. Obviously, Toronto is going to be a heavy player. They made that Riley Nash move. That's a cap move for people who are reading that on Twitter. And I saw all kinds of Habs fans trying to dunk on the Leafs for that. Sorry, guys. Even if he were healthy, that's still a good move.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I mean, they actually they were impressed with Riley Nash in last year's playoffs against Columbus. They know how tough he is to play against. You know, he's one of those depth guys that, yeah, he may not be a big name, but when you're going through that long slog in the playoffs where you need, solid checking line depth, he's one of those guys that can give it to you. And this works well in two ways. One, it gives them cap space, and the other is they, so they can use that cap space to bring in a player at the trade deadline. And then in 6 weeks' time, when he's recovered from his knee sprain and the salary cap no longer matters because you're in the playoffs, well, now he can join your roster. So that's almost as good as another trade. So, listen, I know that Habs fans may not like the Leafs. They may not think much of Kyle Dubas, but you got to give Dubas his props because he's done this before. We talked about this before the show started. This is a guy, he's done it before. He's acquired guys who are on LTIR. He uses them to bank the cap dollars to then go get the player that he really wants.
Yeah.
So that's a very shrewd move on his part. And in this case, doubly shrewd because then that player, when he comes off LTIR, can join the roster in the playoffs.
It's a 2-for-1 deal essentially. And for the
Basically.
cost of a conditional 7th-round pick,
Yeah.
I mean, it basically got it for nothing.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
exactly.
I'm really concerned if you're a Habs fan and you're wondering the Canadians playing the Leafs in the first round, you should be concerned about what his next step is going to be. Who is he going to bring in?
Yeah, exactly. We know that Kyle Dubas, for the last 3 weeks, that's been the talk of Toronto, is that this guy's looking at bringing in a forward. There's been some talk of late that he might move off of that and maybe either look at getting a goaltender or maybe look at bringing in another defenseman, because he's apparently, Alex Galchenyuk of all people is impressing them with his play since they brought him in. Yeah, as Habs fans, we all know, okay. Yeah. Impressive galley one week can turn into regrettable galley the next. But hey, if it works out, I mean, hey, good for him and good for them. But honestly, though, I think he's still going to go get that top six forward that he wants. I really think, and it's going to. I think it's a left winger. Now, if it's Taylor Hall, he's the most notable left winger available right now. If it's Taylor Hall, well, hey, that'd be a hell of a move. How you swing and how you pull it off would be impressive. It'll be interesting to see, but I definitely think that he's still going to go after that forward.
Yeah, if he goes for someone like that, it would have to cost him a couple of his top prospects, I would assume.
Well, he's willing to do that. He's willing to move at least one. We know that for
Yeah.
sure. The only one he's not moving is Rasmus Sandin. He's not moving him. That's the only one. But a kid like Nick Robertson, willing to move him, willing to move some of his other ones. So, and I also have to wonder too, perhaps maybe Alex Kerfoot gets moved as well. 3.5 mil for the next couple of seasons. You move that off your books. He's still a good player right now who just seems to be having difficulty finding his niche, if you will, with the Leafs, but maybe going to maybe either a rebuilding team or just a different team altogether. Maybe he finds that more comfortable role, but at least he's a serviceable player, and he's not nothing. So, if he could even move him as part of it, that could be a possibility as well at the deadline. Then again, maybe he waits and does that move in the off season. But given what he did bringing in Riley Nash, yeah, Kyle Dubas isn't done. He's going to make another move by the deadline. It's going to happen, and I think it's going to be a forward.
And now, Winnipeg Jets, shovel day off. Clearly, they need some kind of help on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Their top six is pretty set. I think they got one of the better top sixes in the NHL.
Mm-hmm.
Big, heavy. They can score. They can play that cycle game. So it seems to be their defense is that Achilles heel, even though they're a very good hockey team.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense does play fairly well, especially in front of a Vezina caliber goaltender like Hellebuck.
Yep.
But I do see them trying to fish for a defenseman. Mm-hmm. Have you seen anything at all on that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's been tied to. We just spoke a few minutes ago about David Savard. That's been one of the names that's been continually floated in the Jets media. It's the name that I've been hearing a lot tied to Winnipeg. Now, whether he actually goes for it or not remains to be seen. I mean, speaking of Savard again, Aaron Portzline, who covers, he's the athletic beat writer of covering the Blue Jackets, and he just said the Jackets have had acceptable trade offers on the table for David Savard for a couple of days now. Jackets GM Jarmo Kekalainen is hoping to create a bidding war. Wonder if Montour to Florida today has pushed Kekalainen to move sooner. Yeah, I'd say yeah.
Yeah.
Now, with this talk of Columbus and the Lightning maybe close to a deal for Savard, maybe that's forces Shovel Day off to maybe up the ante if he is indeed putting in a pitch for him. There was also talk maybe he might go after Nashville's Matthias Ekholm, but given the Predators' run back into playoff contention over the last month, I think he's off the table. I really do. But yeah, he's and he hasn't dismissed the idea. I mean, listen, he already made one significant trade very early in the season, bringing in Pierre-Luc Dubois. So I absolutely think that he's going to do what he can, see what he can find to bolster his defense. If he can't get Savard, if Savard's off the table, maybe that focus shifts to Josh Manson in Anaheim. But that one's going to be expensive. That one,
Yeah.
there's speculation on that is they want a first round pick and a top prospect because he's got another year left on his contract. So they're not, this isn't a guy you're going to get for a second round pick. It's just not going to happen. It's going to cost you. But that could be the type of player, though, perhaps he goes after, or maybe he looks at somebody else that's not even on the trade board for all we know. So
Yeah.
I do think he'll make another move. He'll go for a defenseman.
And with the draft being considered to be less deep than in previous years,
Mm-hmm.
I could see draft picks, higher draft picks, being more of a commodity. Those first round picks, those second round picks, being bandied about a little bit easier. Um, for instance, a team like Edmonton, I see them being willing to give up a first round pick now that they're close, but they need someone to eat some cap from them to make anything happen.
Yeah, but the problem with that, though, Blaine, the problem with that is they don't have any picks in the second, third, and fifth rounds of this year's
Yeah.
draft. And if you're going to give up that first, it's going to have to be for more than a rental. It's going to have to be for a good player that you're going to have at least beyond this season for at least another year, preferably longer. Otherwise, it's not even worth it. And in fact, Kenny Holland yesterday, the GM of the Oilers, said he is not trading a first round pick for a rental. He said he would listen if it's a good player with term on his contract. So I won't fully rule that out, but given the limited picks that he has in this year's draft, it'll have to be a significant player for him to part with that one.
Yeah, in my opinion, that's a move that he would make only for someone that'll fit their longer term needs, like you mentioned, and that first is there as to grease the wheels, so to speak, to have the other team eat some of that cap.
Yeah. And the other thing too with these first round picks, if you're a contender, where you are in the standings, I think will determine how willing you are to part with your first. The reason why the Islanders were willing to part with that first for Palmieri, look where they are in the standings. They're jockeying for first overall, in the standings. That pick is definitely going to be, in the lower third. And the Islanders are a legitimate Stanley Cup contender this year. They are legit. So that pick could end up being, 26 to 31st when it's all said and done. So in that instance, for the type of player that you got, yeah, you're willing to make that move. Whereas if you're say the Montreal Canadiens where you are, and you could end up perhaps in the overall standing, maybe finishing 15th or 16th or 14th, 13th, or you know what I mean? You're going to be less inclined to give up that pick. It's like Toronto. Again, Toronto, another one of the top clubs. They might be willing to part with a first. We'll see. But again, that pick would be lower third in a draft that is supposedly considered to be not as deep as other years. I always hate when I hear that sort of thing because, we don't know. I've heard that, oh, this isn't a good draft year 5 years later. God, look at the great players that came out of that draft. Oh, look how deep the draft is this year. Good Lord, 5 years later. Geez, not very many players came out of that draft. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So yeah, where you are in the standings obviously is going to depend on how willing you are to part with that first.
Yeah, and now that we've gotten the playoff teams out of the way, except for the Canadians, which we're saving for last, of course, Calgary. Calgary is a team that I've been keeping an eye on all season. They're on the outside looking in. There's been rumbles that they're looking at shaking the roster up a little bit. I see it more of a summertime thing, but do you have anything that would say that they might make a move to try and make a push for the playoffs here?
No, no. I honestly, there's some real issues on that roster, in that room. No, there's nothing there that I can see. Yeah, maybe Brad Treliving, their GM, surprises us and makes a big season-saving swap. I don't see it. I think he's a seller now. I think you're going to see guys like, I think Sam Bennett could end up getting his wish and getting that trade that his agent said that he would like to have. That could happen now because the playoffs that's a fading dream, and the only reason why he wanted to hang on to Bennett was because he turns into a beast when the playoffs begin. David Rittich, the backup goalie, he could move. Derek Ryan, the center, he could be on the move as well. But you're right, the bigger name guys like Goudreau and Monahan, those type of no, that doesn't happen until the off season. I've been asked if Matthew Kachuk would also be one of the guys on the move. I'll be shocked if they moved him. I think he's a guy that they would prefer to keep around. He's a real heart and soul guy. You may not like some of his antics on the ice, but this guy plays his guts out every night. He's the same as his little brother Brady. Same thing, agitating. But let's be honest, if either one of those guys was on your team, you'd be thrilled, to have them.
Oh yeah.
So no, I don't think Matthew Kachuk gets moved, but yeah, there's some real chemistry issues there somewhere because on paper this is a team that should right now they should be jockeying with the Habs for fourth. They really should, and they had their opportunity when Montreal was sidelined for a week because of the COVID-19 protocols, and they lost every game. They didn't gain any ground on the Habs, and in my opinion, that pretty much was the nail in the coffin for the Flames playoff hopes. And I know there's still some games left to go, but I think that ensured the Canadians will finish at least fourth and make the playoffs this year. And the Flames were the only team, putting my Habs fan cap on now for a moment. They were the only team I was concerned with. Vancouver, yeah, they had a bit of a surge up and down a little bit, but their defense is just so porous that even Thatcher Demko's heroics isn't going to be enough to save them. Ottawa, no chance, even though they played the Habs hard all year long. They're having problems with other teams. So no, wasn't going to happen for them. Calgary was the only club I was concerned with, and I'm not now. Montreal is going to make the play. I'm not saying they should coast. There's still some time. The things could change, but barring a stunning collapse of epic proportions by the Canadians over the next month, they're in. They're going to make it. So if you're Marc Bergevin, start prepping your roster because you're going to be meeting either the Leafs or the Oilers in the first round.
Now to prep that roster, he's picked up Stahl, as you mentioned earlier in the show, which I think was an excellent move, a third and a fifth, when you already have three of each of those picks in those rounds. So you give up one of it, and I think it was their own. So it was the later picks of each round.
Exactly.
So that's a good move. And it adds that veteran help up the middle. Yep. Now, I don't think that's any secret. The Canadians need help on defense.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see, no one really knows what the hell Bergevin's going to do. The leaks do not come out of his office. So is there anything leaking from the other teams where he's actually flexing the old bicep on?
He's pulling the treg.
Yeah.
That's what we'll call it, pulling the treg. There we go. Pulling the treg. But love you, buddy. No, but honestly, I think Mark Bergevin learned his management skill. I know he learned them in the Blackhawk system, but honestly, I think he took a page from the Lou Lamoriello school of management because, as you said, nothing leaks out. No one knows who he's targeting. I dare say, if anything leaks, he does what Lamoriello does. If the other team leaks it and just shuts it down, and says no, and that's the end of that. Uh, the guy I would have loved to see him get again, and I mentioned him earlier, would be Matthias Ekholm because it's the left side of their D. The
Yeah.
left side of their D, left side of their D. I've had people argue with me. It is the left side of their D that needs to be shored up. And Ekholm would have been the perfect pickup. And if you could have made that move 3 weeks ago, you wouldn't be hearing any complaints from me. But now uh there's some left side guys out there, but nothing on Beckholm's level. I had heard, people also suggest, hey, what about David Savard? I wouldn't have been against that move either. Maybe Bergevin's in on that too. I don't know. None of us know. But if this deal goes through, that the Jackets send him to the Lightning, well, we can take him off the books. But yeah, I do think that's the area that he's going to be looking at. Maybe he could go after another forward, but at this case, I'd say why? Really, there's no reason to. You're chock a block with him now. Bringing in Eric Stahl was a terrific move. I really thought that was the right move to make. Bring in some experience there at center. Take some of the pressure off the younger guys like Suzuki and Kotkaniemi. And you get all that depth and experience there. Uh, you've got Michael Frolik on your taxi squad as well. You can put him in there more often if you need to. For heaven's sake, Cole Caufield now, of course, made his pro debut last night with Laval. I
He
don't
was
expect
okay.
to. I do. Yeah, it was. Kid's
Eh,
got. Yeah, good. Yeah, he's a kid. Oh, the hell with it. Nah, it was a great debut by the kid. That kid can score from the parking lot. He's that damn good. But could we see him before the end of the season? Maybe. I think that's a card that gets played in the postseason. I think that's where
yeah.
you see a Cale Makar. You know what I mean? Because we saw that 2 years ago. Cale Makar came out of university, signed his pro, but he did not play for the Avs. He didn't make his debut until the playoffs, and he performed very well. Maybe we see that. It's just because, again, where the Habs are so tight on the cap space. And I know, yeah, Caufield's contract isn't that big, but still trying to fit it in. If there's room, sure, why not? If the kid looks really good after 2 or 3 weeks in Laval, sure, bring him up for a week or so and see how he does. Otherwise, you could use him in the playoffs. But regardless, as I was saying though, he's got enough depth up front now. I think you're going to have to go with the guys that you got there now, and there's plenty. But it's the blue line that's the concern, and that's, I think, the area that he's going to use that cap space. Now that Gallagher's on LTIR, I think he'll use that cap space to address that.
So a name like Vince Dunn has been bandied about. That's a lefty. He's a puck mover. I don't know how expensive that would be, especially for the St. Louis Blues, who they're kind of in a battle for that playoff spot. But despite that, Army likes to trade off expiring contracts.
Mm-hmm.
He's done it in the past. Hoffman's in the rumor mill right now. I know Dunn has been bandied about again, as I mentioned. So maybe we see something along those lines. Maybe.
It could be. I wouldn't be disappointed if he managed to land Dunn, because unlike Hoffman, Dunn's a restricted free agent
Yeah.
with arbitration rights, obviously, this summer, but a restricted free agent. And I think that yeah, he could be potentially a good fit there. Maybe he just, again, this could be a case of a kid that needs play for a different coach in a different city. Craig Berube, yeah, good coach, but he's a demanding coach, and as we saw earlier in the season, if you're not playing up to snuff, he will bench your ass. And yeah, he will not be shy about voicing his displeasure. Berube's not in John Tortorella territory.
No.
Nobody's in John Tortorella territory. But he doesn't exactly suffer fools gladly either, for lack of a better phrase. So yeah, maybe Dunn needs to be moved out of there. But We'll see. Yeah, the Blues, that one's going to be an interesting one because I also heard today, oh yeah, they're willing to move up guys, but they're also in the Taylor Hall sweepstakes. Okay, that'll be interesting. All right, yeah.
They're in the running for first overall pick because whoever gets in usually gets the first
Oh my
overall.
God. Oh, Taylor Hall. Wow. Wow. Just as
The
an
Hall
aside,
curse.
though, Taylor Hall has never been the same since that knee injury.
No.
That, yeah, he was, you look at the 33 games that he played following his Hart Trophy season, and he was point per game. He was lighting it up just like he was, and he was playing through pain. And then he had the knee surgery, and he just hasn't been the same. He's not driving the play. He's more of a periphery guy. He looks nothing like the guy who won the Hart Trophy 3 years ago, and I think it's tied to that knee injury. But anyway,
Could be a confidence thing based on that. I mean, as someone who has suffered several massive knee injuries, I know his pain.
there you go. Yeah,
Yeah.
you would know firsthand, my friend. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
yeah. It not everybody bounces back, and no knee injury is the same. I mean,
No.
physiologically, everybody's different. We're all snowflakes. So what could be easy for one guy to overcome could be a problem for another. So it depends on the style of game and the way you skate. So yeah, there could be a lot of different factors there, but it hasn't really hurt interest in him in the market. There are still lots of teams that'd be willing to take a chance on him playing. If you could bring him to say you could bring him to a team like Toronto, Montreal, a team that's deeper, a deeper club with more talent from to play around. Yeah, maybe that he could regain his offensive touch and in the same time benefit the other players with him. But the problem is for the Sabres is he's not worth as much as he was a year ago, and that's where the problem lies. So it'll be interesting to see because he's going to get traded. I'll be shocked if he's not traded by the 3 p.m. deadline on Monday. But I'll be very surprised if they can get a first round pick as part of the return.
Yeah, that's the thing. They bought him as a free agent, so you just take your best offer,
Yep.
whatever it may be. I would, and like you, I'd be shocked if a first is involved simply because of his cap hit. So
Yep.
they retain 50% and they might, maybe with some luck, get a first.
Yeah. Maybe.
And if it was Montreal picking him up, and I'm not saying it is, I don't think it will be, but how many games do you think it will take before Hall becomes the scapegoat and the target for hate instead of Drouin?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Oh, if there's, I'm just going to get this out here right now. Put my Habs fan cap on again for a second here.
Yeah.
Marc Bergevin has done a hell of a job as a general manager. He gets a lot of flack that he does not deserve. He has won more trades, many more trades than he's lost. But I wish that Drouin for Sergachev. I was nervous about that deal when it went down, and it's just over time my worst fears have just been confirmed because Drouin is such a periphery player. Everybody pointed to, oh, but look with him and McKinnon when they were together on the Mooseheads, and it's like, yeah, but who's the guy driving the play? Who's the guy driving the play? And that's the thing. Drouin is not that guy. He's a periphery guy, and yeah, if Taylor Hall came there, oh goody, now we got two periphery wingers, hooray! So, but I don't think we have to worry about that. I will be stunned if Taylor Hall is wearing a Montreal Canadiens jersey by 3 p.m. on Monday.
Yeah, if they're gonna pick up a winger, they've already got him in the system. It's Cole Caufield, and
Exactly.
I would not be surprised to see him called up during that break to join the taxi squad because they play today. As we record, the game is about to start in Laval versus Toronto. They have that game today, and then there's a 6-day break before
Yep.
their next game.
Put him
So
on the taxi squad. Yep. No harm to
exactly.
put him on the taxi squad. Yep. Because he doesn't have to clear waivers. So back and forth you go. Yep.
That's right.
That's and hey, if he performs well in practice, if he lines up with the chemistry looks good, who can say? But
He's
again,
almost
I
at
still
Robertson levels.
yeah. But I still think that's still to see his debut. I think I still see that as a playoff thing. But again,
Yeah.
you never know.
Yeah, it's possible near the very end of the season,
Yeah.
after he gets about 5, 6, 7 AHL games in.
And that's what I would prefer to see, Blaine. I want
Yeah.
to see him get a little more pro experience. Yeah, that was a terrific debut last night, but one AHL game does not mean instant NHLer. So,
Yeah.
maybe he is capable of it. It wouldn't be the first time we've seen kids be able to make that jump, but still, let's give him a little more seasoning and let's see how he does, and then yeah, you can look at bring him up either toward the end of the year, or at least have him on your have him on your taxi squad in the playoffs. Though by that point they're no longer a taxi squad; they're the Black Aces, and they can be used at any time. So yeah,
Yeah, and I'm with you on that part for sure. I Habs fans have every right to be excited about this young man.
absolutely,
He looks like he is going to be a very good NHL hockey player.
yeah,
The the thing that I'm trying to hold back on, and I've been taking a lot of heat for it in the last day just because he had such a good game, was I don't want to rush this young man. It, there's no one's ever played too many AHL games before their debut, but there's a lot of people who have played not enough.
exactly.
So that's I've taken a lot of heat for it, but whatever. I got big shoulders.
No, you have to. Yeah, well, of course you're big shoulders. You're in the Navy, my friend. We're all used to that.
Yeah.
Ex-sailor, we all know big shoulders
Yeah.
too.
Got to
Uh,
carry that anchor.
oh, what did the Beatles say? You're going to carry that weight a long time. But no, you're not wrong though. I mean, look again. Yeah, Habs fans, yeah, exactly. Be excited about this kid. Let the haters, from other teams, whatever, just ignore them. Jesus, when they show up on your Twitter feed, just don't even respond because they want you to. The minute you respond to them, you've lost the battle.
Yeah.
Ignore them. Don't give them the oxygen they need. Stick with your kind. Stick with fellow Habs. Be excited about this kid, sure, but I agree with your point 100%. Don't rush him. Okay. God, I have been watching NHL hockey for 51 years. Yes, I'm that old, kids. 51 years. I look great, but
Yeah.
51 years. And I have been covering this professionally for 17. And I've seen too many kids that look so promising with so much potential get rushed into the lineup and they get ruined. They get absolutely ruined. The heightened expectations or struggling to adjust to the NHL pace too much too fast. Yes, yeah, some kids can adjust and bounce back and handle it quickly. Most of them can't. And it's like, you know what? Don't rush him. He's going to be with you for a long time. Okay? We can wait. He'll have his opportunity. If he plays well enough, as you said, if he comes up in the taxi squad for a few games, or a few practices, and looks really good in practice, and they feel, well, let's throw him in a game and see what happens. All right, sure, fine. But again, I would be more comfortable seeing him have a few more AHL games under his belt before you do that. If not, I would be fine if they decide, no, we're going to let this gem polish and then we'll look at next year. I would be fine with that too. You know, let's not, like I said, let's not ruin them. I know, look, Habs fans, we are hungry for a genuine star, a genuine star, a kid that comes in bang right out of the gate. We've had so many that we've had over the years, right? Over the last 25 years. God. But we have for the last quarter century, we've seen so many of these kids come in that had so much promise, so much potential, and they either never played up to it or they were rushed and they were ruined. You know, with a kid like Caufield, give him time. Give him time. What's the harm? Okay? What's the harm?
Yep.
Exactly. Exactly. We got,
And,
besides, this is the deepest Habs team that we've had in years. Seriously, it is. There's enough depth there that when the puck drops in the playoffs, everything being equal, if everybody's healthy, that these guys, yeah, they have the horses there. I think they could win a couple of rounds. I don't see them winning the Stanley Cup, but they could win a couple of rounds, make us all feel good and make it feel like this team's heading in the right direction. Okay? you know hey, don't get me wrong, they make the playoffs. Again, I'll put my Habs fan, hat on, and I'll be cheering for them the whole way. But if they can go win a couple of rounds here and give us some hope for the future going forward, I can take that.
Yeah.
It's been 27 years. We can wait a little longer, but don't rush the kids and ruin their development. Is what I'm saying.
I'm with you 100% on that, and I think we've covered quite a bit of the deadline. We even touched on some of the Canadians' development process. So, why don't we give my listeners a little bit of a heads up where they can find you and some of your work?
Oh, well, absolutely. Well, first and foremost, spectorshockey.net. That's where, of course, I do my daily compilation of the days, the previous day and evening's notable headlines, scores, that sort of thing. And of course, the bread and butter is my analysis of the trade rumors that come up and free agent rumors as well. You can also find my work at featured.io. You can also find me with Bleacher Report. And if you're in Germany, I also do a weekly column for Ice Hockey News as well. And here on Prince Edward Island, I have a bi-weekly column in The Guardian, PEI. So I think that pretty much covers all the places that I've read for so many things over the years. Those are the people that are currently employing me, and I am so grateful for them. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Busy man in his retirement.
Second career, my friend. Second
right.
career. Oh, yeah. But I'll tell you, it's busy, but I would rather be busy than not in this uncertain time. So yeah, definitely enjoying it.
Well, I want to thank you for coming back on the show. You're always welcome to come back. We appreciate the old salts willing to spend some time with us.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. I'd be happy to come back again.
Next time, maybe the other two guys will show up and show some respect.
Yeah, respect your elders instead of making excuses.
Well, I mean, Treg's probably busy lifting stuff, trying to look buff, and Matt's got a skincare regimen he's got to take care of. So those Air Force types, they're not here to defend themselves, so screw them.
Oh, why not? Yeah. I'm sure we'll hear about it once they hear the show.
No doubt. So again, thank you very much for coming on, Lyle. I appreciate that.
My pleasure. Anytime.
You're welcome back anytime.